So I'm back, and now we already have the client for the node mailer, but we still don't have our server, so we need to come back here inside our node mailer tut, or the folder on which you are working, and say git bash npm init --y. You can see that is pretty fast. Okay, it's going to use the node mailer tut and index.js as the main script. So we need to actually create that index.js. Yep. Okay. And we're going to handle this similar to what we did with the API that we just uploaded to the channel. So we're going to handle this using a route and a controller. Okay, so that is the way we are going to handle most things. But in this case, we're going to use plain JavaScript, not TypeScript. Okay, so if you don't like TypeScript for a reason, then don't worry about that. And if you like TypeScript, you can grab the repo I have with Node, TypeScript, and Mongo. Just uninstall Mongo and all that, and handle the same things, but using TypeScript. So now we need to create a new folder that is going to be libs. Remember that in the last tutorial about the API development, we created a handler. So that is the handler we're going to use during the next tutorials with Node.js. So it's a promise handler, okay? Instead of using that try catch that I don't know why we're using that thing. I haven't used try catch in most of my videos because I handle the errors in a different way. So now we have that, and we need to install a few things in a second, but let's continue creating the folder controller. It's just one, so okay. We have libraries. We need a new folder that is going to be routes. I'm creating all this inside the directory. It's the same thing if you want to create those using VS Code. But for you to see how we are doing this, so new folder, and this one is going to be a temporary folder on which we are going to handle the images. And I think I added the code to delete them. If not, well, we will add them here. Okay, so that should be it. Controller, libraries, temporal, and routes. Yep. So we need to install a few things. So let's go. What the hell you are telling me? Air is not defined. Okay, so I just sorry, error. So if you have that, I miss a set response, and it was a responses error inside line 33 for the catch. Okay, because we still have that running. And sorry about that if you got a problem and didn't know what to do. So that should be fixed now. And what I'm going to do is just to close this, because we're going to open that with all the files that we have created. So we need to go here and say express multer. So we need express, no, not close, express.js. Yep. How to install express.js? Okay, they give us the answer here. npm install save express. This is for that. Okay, so let's keep this one running. Actually, that is our client, and that fucking opens with H. Where is my, is this one? Okay. So git bash here, and we're going to install Express. So this could take a bit, and after that we're going to install Multer, and of course not mailer. So not mailer allow us to send mails, as you have seen, but this is just the transporter, as you could say. So let me just, okay, this one is installed already, so let me move this and let's install. Just click here, they copy that, and let's install that. Multer, we don't need the typings here because this is not TypeScript, so, and you can see how to install this. So let's copy this. Multer is already installed. The space and install not mailer. So that is fast enough. Okay, we have that. Nice. Now, but not mailer is only the way to send that. We need to handle the protocols and all that using a SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol server. Okay, and for that we're going to use Mailjet. So let me just disconnect. It's going to send me to the sign out. I'm going to say Mailjet. Did I say Mailjet? No, Mailjet, and go to Mailjet, and you need to create a new account. There's a little catch with creating an account that we're going to see here. So let's say Mailjet, and I will show you what is the thing that you need to do. So we need to access here, and they give you a 200 register now for the basic tier. Okay, so well, I will need to do this actually, and just have two accounts. Well, so I'm going to use my Gmail then. Okay, I'm going to set another one. Okay, because you saw that one. Every time I click, it generates another one. Okay, so, and of course I am not a robot, so register. And this is the thing that I was going to say. Okay, I actually don't need to keep with this, but you will need the URL of a web, blog, or public page. Okay, you need that. How I got this to work? Okay, if you have a website, just add your website. If you have a blog, just add your blog URL. And if you don't have, just go to wordpress.org. Okay, and where is that? It's this one, right? WordPress.org, or is just WordPress? WordPress.com, sorry, to create a new site or blog. Follow the instructions to create a new one, publish that, and use your WordPress domain and add it here. And just add the rest of the things, okay? And if you're going to send this kind of emails or SMS, add it or not. You have a 200 limit for the free tier. I think it's emails and SMS. Okay, I'm not going to continue with this because I already have an account and this is already done. So fill that with your information. If you don't have a blog or a website, or you can even go to a domain. There's a free domain, I think. No, web hosting. Hostinger. I think it's this one. No, it's not this. Or just upload something to Firebase, a simple HTML to Firebase. So you have something public, okay, and you just add that. You need to add something like that, okay, and you should be ready to go after that. So let me show you with my account what else you need to do. I will try not to abstract too much this, but after you have your account, of course you will need to set the email validation, and you need to access, okay, access. I'm using my Hotmail here, and inside configure my SMTP, okay. I actually made an image or a screenshot, so you will see this SMTP parameters, and you will have your API, okay, and you will have your secret key. You will see where we use this, and this is the server, the hosting or the host, and you're going to use the port 587, okay, and that's it. So you will need to use this API key and this secret key. So they don't allow you to show to not to show. You can show it, of course, but unless you go to support, they don't allow you to change this. That's why I decided not to show it. So inside configure my SMTP, okay, and now after that you will need to come to this one, okay, the directions, and you will have in the bottom this one. So you will have to validate this one. So I think it's in edit, or I don't know. And because I'm going to use that Hotmail in order to send something, and you just say both, I don't know, update or activate. I think it's the first time you said that, it's going to say that this is not or this is activated, but it's not actually, you won't be able to use this one, okay, until you say edit, and you just need to update that and set it, and you should be fine. That's the only thing. So you only have 100 of these domains, kinda, okay, limit. So that's with the free tier, and that's it for this. I hope it's not that abstract for you to understand. So, but let's do it again one more time in case it didn't went clear. I need to go back a few steps here. again, and again, until I reach my dashboard. So in your dashboard, configure my SMTP and you will have the things you need. These, okay, we will use those in a second. And you need to update your remittance direction. So, and okay, it says, but don't mess too much with this. Don't think too much about this. Okay, you will need to set a DNS and all that, your web hosting and all that. Okay, but right now you will use the thing that you are adding inside this one. Okay, so you just need to update that, and that will work perfectly with what we are trying to do. So that's it. And after all that talking, and let's continue. So we have that, and let's add the basic configuration for the server right now, and open all this with code and add the last bits in a tier video so this doesn't get too long. So I'm going to say inside controller we're going to create right away these files. It's going to be mailer controller.js. Inside libraries, we should add our handler here, but because it's just a simple route, we will add our handler or promise handler inside the actual controller. Now this one is for Multer.js. The routes, we only have one route that is going to be index.js. And the temporary folder is on which we're going to store our images that we're going to use or that we're going to receive from the React client. Okay, so we have that, and inside index.js we're going to handle the next things. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all this, and we need one more thing because I always forget this. We're going to use Express, so we require Express. We're going to use no, we're not going to use the path, but well, let's keep it there. We're going to use the routes that are defined here, the index inside those routes, and we need course, and we don't have that installed. So is npm install course, just like that. Okay, and that is installed. Okay, after that, we're going to set a few things for our app to work. The first one is use course. Okay, so we can receive from another domain, meaning that React is going to be able to send us information. We are going to handle JSON, okay, if you need that, but we're going to handle from data in this case using Multer. But if you need to handle JSON, or if you just want to send something, you know how to handle JSON with this. So we add this, or actually in this case I'm just going to do this for these two that we are not going to use. And of course listen on port 4000, and the server is on port 4000. Okay, just save this. Let's go to routes, index, and we're going to handle the route. So I'm going to copy all this because it's just the same. We have done this before, and it's just setting the constants to the parts that we require. So we're going to require express again here because we need the router, and we set the constant router to be express router. And we need, because we're using controllers, we need to import the controller that is inside mailer controller. And after that, we are going to say router. That post, we're just going to handle a simple request, that is a post request. You can see that here we have the mailer, and we are going to access that using API and add mailer into that. Mailer controller, that is this file, is going to have an object that is or is going to have the function that is send mail. We're going to add that in a second. This one still doesn't exist, and we need to export our router in order to work. Okay, don't forget this, because if you forget this, it's going to have an error that it will be hard to debug, but it's just because you are not setting, you are not exporting the router. So that is set. Okay, our router is set, and we need to go to mailer, and we are just going to set the simple function we need to use. Okay, it seems I forgot to, okay, I forgot to actually add the deletion, or to handle the delete of the image, but well, we're going to do that in the next video. So right now we're just going to set this for you to have time to connect with your SMTP, do all that, and to not make this video too long. So we're going to say constant mailer controller equals to a new object, and this object is going to have the send mail, that is going to be a request. It's going to have the request and response. It's a function. You can set this as an async function if you want. And here we're just going to say response.send data. Okay, and we need to actually export this one. So we're just setting the route, and we require, of course, a node mailer, and we require upload from Molter. Let's add that actually here. I added that in. If you want to understand this, I added this with the API I just uploaded. Okay, so you can see how this works. But in this case, we're just going to set the temporal folder to be that. So let's kind of go with this pretty fast. So the storage is going to contain the disk storage. So this is actually going to allow us to access inside a folder. So the first part of this function is the destination, and the destination is going to send inside the temporal folder that you can see. We have the temporal folder here, and the file name, this function, what it's going to do is say the first part is an error. Okay, we are just going to handle the error as null. We're not going to send that, and the first part is just going to change the name of the field. Okay, or use the name of the field, add a dash, add a date now, so the naming is different. Okay, it's kind of unique, and we're going to paste the extension of the original file. So if it's JPG, PNG, and all that, and this is going to set our storage, so the object on which Molter is going to store and rename the files. And the single is because we're just going to handle one file, and the name of the input on which that file is going to come is image. So let's go to client, source, component, main, and you can see we're sending as image because that is what Molter is going to expect. Okay, so this should be it. And yeah, so let's actually test this one. So okay, and okay, I have that. Let's close this one and let's open a new one just for the sake of it. So there are two ways to handle how I'm going to refresh the server, the node server. So the first one is going to be nodemon. Okay, the difference is that with nodemon from what I'm using, you need to specify inside um, the package.json what you are going to use. So I rarely use this if not for something like TypeScript and Node.js. So I'm not going to use this. Okay, you can say node watch, but there's a simple way. That is what I have been using a long time ago, or I've been using this for a long time. It's not dev. Okay, so you just need to use to install .dev or .mon. You can check a tutorial how to install that, because that is something I'm not going to do, because I'm not going to use that. I already have this. So you install using npm install .dev, just like that, and in order, so that will install globally. In order to run something, go to your folder and say .dev and the name of the main file, and you can see server on port 4000. 4000, and this one is API and mailer. Okay, it's a remember that we are not handling get requests, we are handling post requests. Okay, so this is not going to work. We could test with Postman, but that's just something we can skip. You can test with Postman if you want to reach that, but this is working, and we are actually going to test in the next video. That should be the last one, using the form and receiving the information inside or oh, I know what is going on. Don't save. There's a odd thing with the new version of BS. So let me just do this pretty quick. So this is going to open my other file. So let me just check something. Yes. Okay. Yes. Because there's an odd thing. Okay. And unless you have, well, VS Code actually updates every now and then. But the problem is that it's going to open an older version of your file. So right now, it said that I didn't have or I have unsaved changes, but I didn't make any change, and I just realized that the code was not okay, or was a few versions before of what I had, and that's the odd thing, that I need to reopen my project in order to see the version I have. But if you save those unsaved changes, it's going to rewrite what you have. Okay, so if you finish your code and see when and you know, tomorrow or the next day you open that, and if you see something is weird, just and if it says unsaved changes or something like that, just cancel that, close that, and reopen, because if you save that, it's going to destroy all the information you have there. Okay, so you will need to rebuild everything from scratch, or from the last save point that is going to be the point that VS Code is showing you. Okay, but that is not actually the place on which you are right now. So there's a bug with that. You should be careful, because figure that we finish this and you go and see that you have some unsaved changes and you realize that I didn't do anything. Okay, let's save and let's reopen, or let's continue. It's going to destroy your information and you will need to restart with all this. So after that, we're going to handle this. This is not going to work because it's a post request. We're going to handle the post request in the next video using React and connecting with the API. So that should be the last video, and see you in the next one.